Guys, today we're going to go over the conduit connectors and their uses. The objective is that under the supervision of your instructor, you should be able to do the following. Identify the various types of conduit and connectors. So as you see here, I have all the different connectors that you will be using in this trade, okay? So as we go down our list, I'm going to give you the uses of them, the industry use, and the correct name of what they're called. Just know for starters, every size EMT that we use, we have a certain connector to go with the size with it. So say for instance, if we're using 1/2" EMT, we have 1/2" connectors, 1/2" couplings. If we're using flex, we have 1/2" flex connectors, all the way up to 3" flex connectors. So whatever size of conduit we're using, we have the appropriate connector to go with the give me a word, with the certain pipe, okay? So for starters, we're gonna start off with the rigid, okay? So the rigid should be on number 13. Okay, so if you guys go to number 13, you always know the difference between rigid from EMT because of the threading. Okay, rigid is a galvanized steel and is used in industrial and sometimes commercial, but non-residential. Okay, rigid pipes start at 1/2", okay, and it goes to 3/4. And now to understand the difference between this connector, the rigid coupling, and a set screw connecting is this. If you're using rigid pipe, 1/2" rigid pipe, you must use a 3/4" EMT bender because the diameter on a pipe is a little bit bigger, okay? So whenever you see rigid, you always know because of the threading inside. There's only 2 different pipes that can use threaded, and that's IMC, which is you don't know if you have to use it in the state of California due to the codes, or it's RMC, which stands for rigid metallic conduit, okay? So that's number 13, rigid coupling, and this side is a 1/2". Everybody got that one down? Okay. The next one we're gonna go over is, let's skip to number 11. Okay. This is a seal tight, known as a liquid tight connector. Okay. You always know the difference between a connector or coupling depending on the lock ring at the top. Anything that inserts is some form of a connector. Anything that extends the pipe is a coupling. Okay. You always know the difference between seal tight because it has a little wedge at the bottom which keeps all the concentration of all the water from getting inside and messing up your wires. Okay, so it's easy to install and it's easy to use. And that will be liquid tight, and it's easy to do. Once you screw this part here, I'll give you the demonstration, you screw this liquid tight off, okay? You put this part on the liquid tight, see the 2 gauges inside, and this will screw on and lock it in place. You take your lock ring off here. Let me show you. Insert this into your game box and lock it on. Now, liquid tight is used for vibration purposes only or outside locations. It's also considered watertight. So from prime examples of where I would use this at, on AC disconnects outside, patios, anywhere we consume water, even on some motor controls or conveyor belts when it got to do with vibration also. Industrial use, as far as refineries, when you deal with certain gases, anything that consumes water, you want to use liquid tight, outside locations, okay? Another one that's very important that a lot of people tend to forget on is this guy here, okay? This one should be, let me find it for you guys. Number 6, okay? It's a flex coupling, okay? Flex coupling. Now, flex coupling is used, it's called flexible metallic. They have a flex coupling that goes from flex to EMT. Now, a good use for this will be, I'm gonna give you an example. Say if I have a 1/2" piece of EMT pipe and I'm doing a 90 stub up out of the wall, okay? And the bend is too tight for me to make. So what I would do is, I'll put a flex to EMT connector, and then I'll put this flex coupling on this flex, right here. And the screws in kind of simple. You just screw it in, just how I'm doing, with hand tightening. And then I can flex this out of the wall and get to wherever I need to get to. Flexible is a cheaper material. Some contractors like to use it, some don't. But if you're a good pipe bender, you would never need to flex. You could just bend your pipe like this, nice and easy, beautiful 90s. okay? The next one I'm gonna go to is this guy here. This one is number number 8, okay? It's the EMT connector, 1/2 inch. EMT set screw connector at a 1/2 inch, okay? Now the sizes from these go from 1/2 inch all the way up to 5 inches, depending on the size of EMT you're using. It's called a set screw. The reason being is, once you insert your pipe inside this connector, you take this little set screw here and you lock it down. You don't have to overly do it tight, because what happens is if you crank the set screw down too tight, it dents the pipe. So now when you want to pull your conductors through the EMT, it'll catch on the screw and rip your conductors. So it's just a little bit of hand tight, okay? So no matter what size EMT pipe you're using, they have a connector to go with it. Now, when you're using set screw connectors, it goes on to using set screw couplings. Now this is a 1/2 inch set screw coupling. So one thing about pipe bending and knowing the connectors or the couplings that you're using, you always want to be formatted. Okay, what I mean by formatted is, if I'm using set screw connector, I want to use a set screw coupling. I always want all the screws facing the same way, nice and neat. So hypothetically speaking, if I'm doing a 30-degree offset at some concentric bends, right? If I put one coupling on in one location, I want the same location to have all couplings. I don't want nothing to be staggered. Just reminds me of using 1-hole straps or 2-hole straps. Everything in pipe bending must be formatted and nice and neat as possible, okay? So 1/2 inch connector, set screw connector, 1/2 inch coupling. These two go together. Now moving forward, a 1/2 inch compression connector. You can always know the difference between the compression and set screw. Once you take this off, there's a little lock ring in here. See it? There's a little lock ring. This right here compresses on the pipe. That's what's called a compression connector, and it tightens it up. Okay, so you put this over the pipe, here and here like this, screw this on, and it locks in. Okay, you take your lock ring off, goes inside your 4S box with your box offset, tighten it on, and you're done. Now, if I'm using this compression connector at a 1/2 inch, I will use a compression coupling, which I don't have one up here. I'll get you one. I will use a compression coupling. So if I'm using compression connector, I must use compression coupling. Now, a lot of these right here are used for outside locations also, okay? Now the difference between this compression connector coupling and this compression and the screw tie coupling, okay? The difference is, I always use this one in masonry, brick, okay? I would use this one in rain tight wet locations. Difference, two different ones. Now just keep in mind, if I was doing somewhere outside work location, I would use this one. If I'm doing something industrial or commercial and I want to look nice and neat, I would use this one, okay? If I want to do something with residential, as far as getting a 90 out of the wall, I would use my flex. If I want to use something with water, I would use my liquid tight. So they have a certain application and a certain connector for every purpose in this trade. So you always got to make sure that what you're doing, you always ask questions on what's the right material to get, okay? The next one I'm gonna go over is MC connector. MC connector. 2-screw MC connector, okay? Now, MC connectors, MC cable is normally used in a commercial site because it's got metal over it. So the difference is, any building that's over 5 stories is considered a commercial building because of the framing that they use. Okay, so they have metal framing, so you use metal boxes, MC cable. If it's wood framing, you use Romex, which is in plastic boxes. Okay, so you always got to keep in hand of what material to use depending on what type of building that you're working on. Okay, guys? The next one we'll go over is, and one second, we're taking a break.